Hey brother! Ben, not much is known about Hagrid's past. We know he's a half-giant on his mother's side, that he was in the Order of the Phoenix, that he was expelled in his 3rd year at Hogwarts, he knew James and Lily and is fiercely loyal to Dumbledore. But today, we are going to try and get to the bottom of a much more important question, which is, which house was he in? Now, yes, I know J.K. Rowling has weighed in on this in the past, and I will get to that because I disagree. So, where to begin with Hagrid? Well, I think Ravenclaw is a good starting point because, well, it's just the easiest to rule out. Nothing against Hagrid or anything, I just don't think he quite has the wits about him to have been in Ravenclaw. He definitely has a lot of street smarts and is super intelligent when it comes to magical creatures, but I always got the feeling that came from fascination and experience and working with animals more than it did study and just general intelligence. Literally one of the first things we learn about Hagrid is he can't spell the word Voldemort.
No, I can't spell it.
Like, seriously, dude? It's spelled exactly the way it sounds, unless you're one of those people who's like, Voldemort. To me, the most natural seeming fit for him was always Hufflepuff. Hands down, he is one of the hardest working people in the entire series, and that might just be because he doesn't have access to magic, but either way, I think it would ring true. By the way, can I just say how lame it is how much physical labor they make Hagrid do? I mean, he has to individually carry in 12 Christmas trees for the Great Hall. What? You kidding me, Dumbledore? I personally have a hard time believing that you or any other teacher at the school couldn't do the same thing by just waving your wand. Hermione literally uses the spell Mobiliarbus at one point, which is a spell that does nothing except move plants and trees. So yeah, the magic exists. Same goes for Filch, by the way. Like, his job just seems mean to him. He has to spend hours manually cleaning stuff up when anyone else could just like wave a wand and have it done. Like, why? Why are you making him do this? Whatever though, back to Hagrid and his potential to be in Hufflepuff. Not only is he hardworking, but he is fiercely loyal, especially to Harry and Dumbledore, and is known to get, well, huffy and puffy about it in defense of them.
Never insult Albus Dumbledore in front of me.
But on the other hand, when Harry first asks Hagrid about Hufflepuff and Slytherin, he responds, "Everyone says Hufflepuff for a lot of duffers, but..." And then Harry cuts him off, rudely interrupting him to lament about how he'll probably end up in Hufflepuff house because of what a duffer he thinks he is. Either way, calling them duffers doesn't sound like something you would say about the house you used to be a part of. But my question is, what was the end of his sentence going to be if Harry hadn't interrupted him? Everyone says Hufflepuff are a lot of duffers, but I enjoyed my time there. But I turned out okay. But hey, unlimited pancakes in the common room is a serious benefit. How do you think I got so big? Yeah, it was probably the pancakes. And even though he does call them duffers, he does follow it up by saying better Hufflepuff than Slytherin, which is still defensive of them a little. He could also be okay with just saying the word duffer, as in he thinks other people's opinion of them is stupid because he has a deeper understanding of what it means to be a good person, which is hard work and loyalty. But then there's the Gryffindor problem, which is to say all of the good guys are in Gryffindor. I mean, sure, there are some exceptions, Snape, Luna. Everybody is in Gryffindor, especially when it comes to the Order of the Phoenix. I think with the exception of Snape, it is literally all Gryffindors, almost to an annoying degree.
I'm pretty sure Tonks was in Hufflepuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Snape and Tonks, and otherwise it's kind of annoying. I mean, it's not like it doesn't make sense for Hagrid. He's still a very courageous person. He's willing to raise a dragon in his wooden hut. He's happy to wander into giant camps to breed new creatures into existence with blast-ended screws. He raises a giant three-headed dog, and is even willing to smuggle an acromantula into the castle. And you'll notice that most of those things also involve breaking some degree of rules, which also seems to be a very Gryffindor thing to do. Hagrid is also a known supporter of the Gryffindor Quidditch team and only shows Harry, not Cedric, the dragon, which doesn't seem like something you would do if you used to be in Hufflepuff house. But I think you can pretty easily chalk both of those things up to his extreme favoritism of Harry. I don't think it matters what house Harry was in, Hagrid was just definitely going to root for him. But if you're thinking to yourself right now, Jay, a lot of this Gryffindor evidence seems pretty circumstantial. Just because he breaks rules and cheers for Harry and was in the Order of the Phoenix doesn't necessarily make him him a Gryffindor. And to you I say, you are absolutely right. The argument for Hagrid and Gryffindor is like paper thin. But this is where J.K. Rowling comes in. If you go to Pottermore right now and check the Rubeus Hagrid fact file, you will see that it currently lists him as was in Gryffindor house. Personally, I don't know where this comes from, which is to say it doesn't actually have to come from anywhere because Pottermore is its own canon source of information. But I decided to go see if there was any other time period where this is mentioned in the books because I was pretty sure it hadn't. And the only other thing I could find was an interview from 2000 where J.K. Rowling is asked point blank what house Hagrid was in, and she says, he was a Gryffindor, naturally. And yeah, that seems pretty cut and dry, and normally around here we take J.K.'s Rowling's word as like gospel, but I am just gonna have to call her out on this one because I just don't think it's accurate. I don't think there can be any doubt that the house Hagrid was actually in was Slytherin. What? No way, right? But yes, way. Come, walk with me. Or, well, just sit right there. I'll just keep sitting here too. I'm gonna put this hat on because I feel like it fits with the rest of the video. No, you can't even see it. It's Slytherin right there. I'm gonna take it off. If I go backwards, is it better? Does that? No, wow. No, I'm just, I tried. I don't look good in hats, guys. First of all, let me just say there is nothing wrong with being in Slytherin. I think it's probably just not where most of you would assume Hagrid was. And yet, it is the only house that seems to have any actual evidence going for it. And the secret lies fittingly within the Chamber of Secrets. The book, not the actual chamber. Hagrid has nothing to do with the chamber itself. He doesn't know how to get in there. But people sure think he does, which just, like, how did he ever get his job as gamekeeper? People literally thought he unlocked a hidden chamber in the school and unleashed a monster that was going to purge the school of Muggleborns. And they still let him work there? Guys, it's cool. It's like punishment. We'll make him drag the trees. Yeah, he was a third year, so maybe there's some underage forgiveness, but still, it'd be like if while you were at school, you killed one of your fellow classmates and then they hired you to work there, you know? Like, no, you know what? That's not even a metaphor. That's exactly what happened. Except that Hagrid actually is innocent, but they don't know that. Well, the public don't know, but the staff do. The public were told that Myrtle died in a freak toilet accident. Hogwarts, the safest place on Earth, because we just don't report the bad things that happen, like the Dark Lord possessing one of our teachers, or the Dark Lord possessing one of our students, or the Dementors descending on the school, or us employing one of the Dark Lord's closest followers, or what happened in Book 5? Nope, that wasn't our fault. That happened to the Ministry. I mean, come on, how are we supposed to stop the Dark Lord from waging war at the school? No place safer. If you will recall, though, when Tom brings Harry into the diary to show him how he framed Hagrid, he sneaks down to the dungeon, hides in the potions classroom, waits for a while until Hagrid creeps by, and then him and Harry go to the room where he's keeping Aragog and gotcha. This scene alone tells us almost everything we need to know about what house Hagrid was truly in. First of all, let's just examine the fact that Tom and Hagrid are on a first-name basis with each other, and that Tom even knows who Hagrid is at all. At that moment, Hagrid would be a kind of bumbling third year, and Tom would be a fifth-year prefect, and by all accounts, the most popular and gifted student in the entire school. History. Well, I suppose by that definition, Hagrid would absolutely know who Tom was, but the other way around? I mean, Tom at this point is already recruiting people. He already has a gang of Slytherins who would become the future Death Eaters. Why would he be messing around with underclassmen from other houses? Especially when Voldemort was so convinced that there should just be the one house. On the other hand, though, if Hagrid was in Slytherin, his immense size alone, I think, would totally attract Tom Riddle's eye as a great recruit. Huge size and potential connection to the Giants, who we know Voldemort would later recruit? Yeah, I can see it. It's just like how Draco has Crabbe and Goyle, and Dumbledore even says they were a motley collection, a mixture of the weak seeking protection, the ambitious seeking some shared glory, and the thuggish gravitating toward a leader who could show them more refined forms of cruelty. Not that I think Hagrid wanted or even could be cruel to anyone. I can just totally see an oversized boy feeling good about being accepted. He even expresses almost his exact sentiments to Harry. You know what, Harry? When I first met you, you reminded me of me a bit. Mom and Dad bad guy and you were feeling like you wouldn't fit in at Hogwarts, remember? There's also the fact that the room Tom corners him in is in the dungeons, far away from Gryffindor Tower and after hours. And it's obviously a trip Hagrid has made many times because Tom knows when and where to wait for him. Actually, just a few pages earlier, Tom had been having a conversation with current headmaster Armando Dippet about how there had been several attacks and how Myrtle had just died. If you recall, in Harry's time in the present, after the attacks from the Chamber of Secrets started happening, the first thing they did was increase security in the school. So I have to imagine that when this happened 50 years ago and the attacks started, similar precautions were taken before and after Myrtle died. So are we supposed to believe that clumsy, lumbering, third-year, half-giant Hagrid is successfully sneaking out over and over again from Gryffindor Tower all the way to the dungeons and back and not getting caught? Yeah, I don't think so. Let me just remind you that Harry, the super nimble seeker who is much smaller than Hagrid and who had an invisibility cloak, is caught sneaking out after hours by no fewer than a Book, Filch, who seriously, does he even sleep? Snape, Moody, Dumbledore, and some stairs. Sorry, but there's just no way Hagrid is successfully doing this night after night with heightened security. On the other hand, though, if he was just sneaking out of the Slytherin common room, which is also in the dungeons, and just going a few rooms away, I can totally see him getting away with this, and it would even make more sense that Tom had picked up and noticed his pattern. And let's also just point out that even when Tom Riddle opens the Chamber of Secrets, the legend of it is still known. They still know that Salazar Slytherin built it, kept a monster within, and that only his heir should have been able to access it. And yet, nobody raises an eyebrow when a supposed Gryffindor is accused of doing it? Yeah, no, the reason nobody questions it is because Hagrid was in Slytherin house. They think they have the heir of Slytherin. True, Harry himself, also a Gryffindor, is also suspected of opening the Chamber of Secrets, but that is because he openly displays his ability to speak to snakes in front of like the entire school, and that is a unique ability specific to Salazar Slytherin. Also, he's Harry and had the whole "I beat Voldemort as a baby" thing going for him. Or, well, I guess against him in that case. This even fits with Hagrid's whole "there wasn't a witch or wizard who went bad who wasn't a Slytherin" idea. Because yeah, if the prefect in his own house turned on him and got him expelled from school, I bet he doesn't like them, and it also would have meant he would have known a lot of the Death Eaters personally. In fact, Hagrid even says, "You know who was one of them," meaning he knows that Voldemort was a Slytherin, which is pretty curious. Dumbledore even says not many people realize that Tom Riddle became Voldemort, and yet Hagrid, of all people, knows. How? Well, Tom Riddle himself gives us the answer in the Chamber of Secrets after he rearranges the letters in his name. He says, "You see," he whispered, "it was a name I was already using at Hogwarts, to my most intimate friends only." Of course. Hagrid knows that Tom became Voldemort because he was one of those friends, or at least somewhere on the inside at some point. And again, please don't let me taint you and think that I think Hagrid is a terrible or a bad person or ever would have become a Death Eater. I think as soon as he felt accepted, that was good, and then once they turned on him, he saw what they were and just never looked back. I think it could be very similar to how Dumbledore was briefly involved with Grindelwald in just the smallest of ways, and also Hagrid probably seemed like an awesome scapegoat once Voldemort or Tom Riddle got to know him. And if you're still not convinced, let me just offer you one more tiny bit of evidence from the Battle of Hogwarts. You will notice that the Death Eaters have no problem killing anyone on the other side, and yet they managed to take, or decide to take, one single prisoner. And who was that? Hagrid. Why? Because he was a former Slytherin and classmate, and maybe they could get him back. Or because J.K. Rowling just really wanted Hagrid to carry Harry back in on the procession. And please, I'm going to say it one more time, I am not trying to suggest Hagrid is a bad guy at all, or that he has even a single bad bone in his body. Just that maybe, for a brief time, he was misguided in his youth when he was a Slytherin. Ben, my question for you and everyone else is, what do you think? Despite what it says on Pottermore, could Hagrid have actually been in Slytherin? Let me know your thoughts in the towel section down below. These socks are amazing! Guys, thanks for watching this video. As always, please remember to like if you haven't already, and subscribe so you don't miss any future Harry Potter action from us. If you want to see what we think Hagrid's Patronus would be, you can check out this video right here. Or if you want to see why his wand still works, you can check out this video right here. But Ben, that's all I've got for you today, man. I will see you in another life, brother.